Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiyet. So after having completed verse number 16, which is Nasato Vidyate Bhavo, Na Bhavo Vidyate Satah, Ubhayorapi Drishtontaha, Tvanayos Tattvadarshibhihi. So that which is Asat has no being, and that which is Sat has no non-being. And the person, Tattvadarshibhihi, those wise men who know this, the difference, they are the ones who see the truth, Tattva, the truth of the nature of the truth. So let me know if you want me to repeat some of the ones that we did yesterday. If not, we'll go ahead. I'm just going to read the subheadings so that we just recollect all that we have been listening and understanding. Let's just go back to the verse and then quickly wrap this verse up and before we go to the 17th. Very important verses in the second chapter. Yeah. So for the unreal mithya, there is never any being. For the real, there is never any non-being. The ultimate truth of both of these is seen by the knowers of the truth. So then we saw what Sat, Asat and Tuchya are. There are three different aspects there. And how, what existence and non-existence is. Therein they brought in the aspect of Tuchya. So the order of reality of Asat is something that depends on its existence for something else. It is not independently existent. Whereas Sat is that which exists independently of any other cause, and it exists in all the three states. All three times, past, present, future. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. In all of this, that which exists is Satya. And then objects do not exist independently. We saw how the clay, the pot is dependent on the clay. The shirt is dependent on the cloth. Why do we see Sat in the Asat? There we got to know the Is Buddhi, the Sat Buddhi and the Asat Buddhi. The Sat Buddhi always remains. Whether there is an object or not, the Sat Buddhi remains. It is only that with different objects, just like how thoughts keep, it is the Asat Buddhi is superimposed upon the Sat Buddhi. And that this confusion is what gives rise to the feeling that Asat is Sat. And then the is Buddhi always remains. And then Shankara brought in the aspect of the Purva Pakshi to say how can these two orders of reality exist? How can you how can the Sat Buddhi um, how can the Asat Buddhi be superimposed upon the Sat Buddhi? The example given of that mirror, in the mirror the mouth is open and then with a spoon you're trying to feed the mirror. How is that possible? That link, how can you link it up? So for that he says, Sat Buddhi, anything can be superimposed upon the Sat Buddhi. Because what is superimposed is only Nama Rupa, which is ever changing. What remains unchanging is what the Sat Buddhi is. And anything can be superimposed upon this. Consciousness between two thoughts. We saw how that consciousness is always there. Thoughts come and go, but the very fact that we have the thought itself is illumined by the consciousness. Consciousness remains irrespective of the thoughts. And then the two orders of reality, how Satya and Mithya, and how Mithya is not just non-existent, it is as though existent. So you have a transactional reality as well as an existential reality. Vyavaharika satta, paramarthika satta. And the example given of the Dvaiti and the Advaiti and the king, and how when the elephant comes, the Advaiti is the first one to run, shout out saying, hey, take cover, there is an elephant. And then the Dvaiti asks, how come if everything is mithya, Jagan mithya, Brahma satyam is what the Advaitin is saying. Why did he run with the elephant? And then Advaiti says, when did I say elephant is not mithya? Elephant is mithya, but running is also not satya. Running is also mithya. The Advaitin is someone who is very practical. He is alert and he does what is needed to be done. With this knowledge, with this understanding that there are two orders of reality, Satya and Mithya. Existence is consciousness. So the object Vishaya of the Sat Buddhi is Satya. Therefore, the amness, I am, Aham Asmi, you are, Tvam Asi, and the isness, Sah Asti, and that is Tadasti, are all one and the same. So the whole of the Vedanta is talking about the Karana Karya Vada, the cause effect relationship. Here, Satya is the cause, Mithya is the effect. And yet, Karanam Tat Satyam. Yet Karyam Tat Mithya. A product is Mithya because it is dependent upon a cause. Satah Abhava na Vidyate. Therefore, Sat cannot have a non-being. I would just like to read this. Tattva is the abstract form of the pronoun Tat. And the word Tattva is the intrinsic nature of anything. So the abstract noun of Tattva means the truth, the Swarupa of Brahman. Tattva Darshibhihi. So those that are the seers of the truth, they see the truth of Brahman. The truth of Brahman is actually Satya, existence, knowledge, jnana, and limitless Ananta. Nitya, timeless, Shuddha, pure. The Brahman is not only Satya, but is the Karana for everything. Therefore, everything is Brahman. Brahman plus all names and forms is all that is here. Such a beautiful statement. Brahman is not only Satya, but is the Karana for everything. Therefore, everything is Brahman. Brahman plus all names and forms is all that is here. So, those people who know the truth of Brahman, Tattva Darshinaha, understand both Sat and Asat. Both must be known. Sat is Sat and Asat is Asat. So, this distinction is very important. So, both need to be known. And those that know the truth of everything, Tattva Darshinaha, are called Panditas. The ones who, as we saw earlier, do not come to grief. Why? Because they know the truth. This is exactly what the Advaitin scholar tells the king when he runs away from the elephant. He says, "Search me, king. Is there any trace of sorrow in me? There is no fear, no sorrow. Only what has to be done, I did." So he understood what Sat was, what Sat is, and what Asat is. And therefore he acted accordingly out of Viveka. Whereas for the Dvaitin, they believe that both are Sat. The Brahman is Sat as well as the there is no Mithya for the Dvaitin. They believe that everyone, depending on what they do, either accrue punya papa, and then so there is no Mithya for them. Both are Satya. The confusion between Satya and Mithya. So I'm just going to go through the dualist because the second scholar, dualist, who kept telling the king that he was not Brahman, that Brahman was the cause of the world and that he was a product subject to punya and papa. If he did the things right, he would gain some time in heaven, and if he did not, he would go to more unpleasant places such as Naraka. This scholar maintained that what he was saying was the truth as stated in the Shastra. He even backed up his statements by quoting Vedanta in his daily teaching. So, what the Dvaitin believes is that we are not Brahman. Brahman is a separate entity and we are separate. That is why the Dvaita Bhava continues for the Dvaitin. Whereas for the Advaitin, he says, Tattvamasi, you are that. There is only one Brahman. Brahman is the cause of everything, and therefore Brahman pervades in and through. Whereas for the Dvaitin, that is you. You are not Brahman. You are you, Brahman is Brahman. The inexplicability of Mithya. Why Mithya? It is neither Bhava nor Abhava. Abhava is tucha, something which is totally non existent. Whereas, what is Mithya then? It does not have an existence of its own, nor is it totally non existent. It is something in between, which is what we mean when we say that mithya is inexplicable. There are others who say that the reality, the vastu or sat, is inexplicable. The vision of Vedanta is just the opposite. Only the vastu can be unfolded, albeit by implication, and everything else is inexplicable. This is important for us to understand because very often we get into these doubts of what is Maya, when did the first karma begin, when did we when did the first human being start in creation. So that is inexplicable. Maya is inexplicable. But what is unfolded by Vedanta, step by step, is Sat. So when we come to this knowledge, sometimes we might get caught up in trying to understand Maya. Absolutely no point in understanding Maya because it is inexplicable. Whereas all our attention should be drawn towards understanding the truth because that is what can be unfolded. No matter how many times we try to understand Maya, we'll end up only with more questions. So, Maya, with respect to Maya, we just have to wonder. Ajnana is not what we are pursuing. We want to unfold jnana, we want to understand jnana, we want to gain jnana. So, even in our when we are doing this reflection, when we're doing nididhyasana and all that, when these little doubts crop up, which is what nididhyasana is, to clarify, to clear up all those little and the doubts that we come up with, so that there is clarity of knowledge, there is that ascertainment of knowledge. Knowledge becomes strong and dhrida. So, can truth be defined? It is generally thought that truth cannot be defined, whereas we say that truth alone can be defined. Everything else can be only conditionally defined and so requires further definition. Therefore, any definition of an object which is asat mithya is a point of view subject to further definition. So, how can mithya be defined? Because it's neither sat, existent, nor tuchya, totally non existent. There is no explicability for mithya. That there is no explicability is its explanation. We are not just getting lost in mithya and then saying it is not explainable at all. It is inexplicable in the sense that it cannot categorically be defined as this is satya, because our definition of satya is that which is not negated at any time. So, in that sense, it is inexplicable. Because what is never negated at any time is satya, you cannot say that an object such as a pot is satya because it did not always exist. Furthermore, it may be broken tomorrow, nor is it always the same pot, since yesterday it was in one form and today it is in another. The pot is also not tuchya, totally non existent, because if it were non existent, it would not be perceived or known to hold any water. There is therefore such a thing as a pot. Between Sat and Tuchya, therefore, there is a reality, which is referred to as Asat. In fact, the technical word for Asat is generally Mithya. Although the words Asat, Mithya, and Maya are all used in the Shastra, the ontological definition for this order of reality is Mithya. What is not subject to negation in all three periods of time, past, present, and future, is Satya. And that which does not exist at all in all three periods of time is Tuchya. Therefore, what is in between becomes Mithya or Asat. So basically, all the Nama Rupa becomes Mithya. They do have, they're not totally non existent, neither are they existent in the true sense, in that they cannot be negated in all three periods of time. Because they are subject to change, because Nama Rupa is subject to change, that is a order of reality called Mithya. Anyone wants to share before we go to the 17th verse? So further Krishna said, Avinashi tu tadvidhi ena sarvamidam tatam vinashamavyayasyasya na kaschit kartumarhati. Idam sarvam, this entire world, ena, by which tatam is pervaded, tat, that, too, indeed, avinashi, indestructible, vidhi, no, asya avyayasya, of the one that does not change, vinasham, destruction, na kaschit, no one, kartum, to do, arhati, is able. Idam sarvam ena tatam tat tu avinashi vidhi asya avyayasya vinasham na kaschit kartum arhati. Know that by which this entire world is pervaded to be indeed indestructible. No one can bring about the destruction of the one that does not change. Here, Tat refers to Sat, that for which there is no abhava, and that which is understood by the knower of the truth, Tattvadarshi, as stated in the previous verse. That Sat is not subject to destruction, it is Avinashi. Moreover, everything that is here, the entire world, is pervaded by this indestructible Sat, Sat Atma. Being subject to destruction, the world is Asat, not Sat. In this verse, Sat and Mithya are made very clear. Sat is other than Asat, whereas Asat is not other than Sat. Sat Vastu is called Vishnu, a word which is being quietly introduced here by Bhashyakara Shankara. That which pervades everything, meaning the entire world, including space, is called Vishnu. Vishnu is actually Vyapakatvat Vishnu, that which is pervading is Vishnu. This is Sat. Since there is no Asat without Sat, the bhava of the Asat is nothing but the bhava of the Sat. For example, because the existence of a clay pot is inherent in the existence of the clay, the bhava belongs to the clay and not to the pot. And when we say the pot is, that is Sat. Therefore, wherever there is Asat, there is Sat. How do we get to the Sat? We do not have to get rid of the Asat in order to get to the Sat. Nor is the Asat sitting upon the Sat, covering it up, just as the pot does not cover the clay by sitting on it. You need not destroy the pot in order to know the clay. It is a question of understanding alone. Another question then arises. When the entire world is pervaded by the Satvastu, is the Satvastu destroyed when the world is destroyed? No. One is Sat, which is not subject to destruction, and the other is Asat. When the Asat is destroyed, the Sat is not destroyed. There is both difference and non difference here. Non difference in the sense that all there is bhava, Sat, and difference in the sense that while the Asat depends upon the Sat does not depend upon the Asat. Therefore, we say that there is both non difference and difference. Because there is no real difference, there is non duality. The crux of the matter here is that B is A, whereas A is not B. Here B is Asat. B is Asat is Sat, whereas Sat is not Asat. So I will read this one more time. So, अविनाशि तु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वमिदं ततं विनाशमव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति. So know that by which this entire world is pervaded to be indeed indestructible. No one can bring about the destruction of the one that does not change. Here Tat refers to Sat, that for which there is no abhava. And that which is understood by the knower of the truth, Tattvadarshi, as stated in the previous verse. That Sat is not subject to destruction, it is Avinashi. Moreover, everything that is here, the entire world, is pervaded by this indestructible Sat, Sat Atma. Being subject to destruction, the world is Asat, not Sat. In this verse, Sat and Mithya are made very clear. Sat is other than Asat, whereas Asat is not other than Sat. So this is where B is A, but A is not B. A is Sat, B is Asat. Asat is not other than Sat, so B is A, whereas A is not B. I think when we understand this, we will understand the 9th chapter verse in Rajavidya Rajaguhya Yoga, where he says, I am in everything, but everything um, is not in. I think everything is in me, but I am not in N. That is what he says. Sat Vastu is called Vishnu, a word which is being quietly introduced here by Bhaskar, Bhashyakara Shankara. If you allow me, I'll just get the Bhagavad Gita book. 1 minute. Huh? I just want us to go to the 9th chapter because we had some difficulty understanding that. Huh. So, Maya, that I'm going to the 9th chapter and I'm just reading this. The Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyaktamurtina matsthani sarvabhutani nachaham teshvavastitaha. The whole of this universe is permeated by me as unmanifest divinity, like ice by water, and all beings dwell on the idea within me. But really speaking, I am not present in them. So that A is not B, but B is A. न च मत्स्थानि भूतानि पश्य मे योगमैश्वरम् भूतभृन्न च भूतस्थो ममात्मा भूतभावनः. Nay, all those beings abide not in me. But behold the wonderful power of my divine yoga, though the sustainer and creator of beings, myself in reality dwell not in those beings. यथाकाशस्थितो नित्यं वायुः सर्वत्र गोमहान् तथा सर्वाणि भूतानि मत्स्थानीत्युपधारय. Just as the extensive air which is moving everywhere, being born of ether, ever remains in ether, likewise, know that all beings who have originated from my sankalpa abide in me. So all beings abide in me, but I am not in them.
Yeah, like yesterday, Dr. Brahmada, we read, we were saying it's all only Brahman, nothing else, right? Like,
Yeah.
like even that Vishwarupa thing, you see everybody in him, then uh, then like then Sat is in the Asat, right? Like, I mean, in a way, yes, we are all pervaded, but then we think we are pervaded somewhere inside us, inside of us, but it's not really the truth, right? I mean, that's not the truth.
Mm.
I'm wondering, like, so in a way, we are saying so far, our understanding is like there is Atma. When in the Kshetra chapter, we read that Kshetra is our body and the Kshetrajna is that Atma. That Atma is considered as Sat.
Yes.
Because it is indestructible.
Indestructible. Yeah.
That is main important.
I remember asking Nana the same question about that ninth chapter. I think it's the fourth and fifth verse, I think.
Correct. You're
And
right. Fourth and fifth verses.
I still have the same doubt. Whenever
Which is
we read
why
that.
I said let's go through that because
Yeah.
I found it also difficult to comprehend that at that point. But
Yeah.
now that we're doing the difference between Sat and Mithya,
Yeah,
and
you're
how,
right. Like B is not in the A. A is in B, but sorry, A is not B. So,
yeah,
I mean, we cannot equate like A is B or B is A like that.
B is
Uh,
A,
yeah, B is A, but
Asat
A
is
is
Sat,
not B. Hmm.
but A is not B.
Yeah,
Sat is Sat. No, Sat is Sat, Asat is Asat. Sat
right,
is independent of Asat. Sat is what pervades. The whole of Asat is pervaded by Sat.
right.
Asat has no independent existence apart from Sat.
So, what we need to understand is the difference between this pervading, the Sat pervading all beings, which is also the truth, but then we have to understand in a way that that ninth chapter, that slokas.
Mm.
I heard that question, when Nana did explain. I might have made notes in my book somewhere. I'll have to go back to it, or we have to go back to that tape, or see whether we can see that.
Exactly what it's saying in the fourth verse of chapter 9.
Yeah.
Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyaktamurtina matstani sarvabhutani nachaham teshvavastitaha. So the whole of this universe is permeated by me,
Mm-hmm.
and all beings dwell on the idea within me, but really speaking, I am not present in them.
Mm.
This is exactly what this A B thing is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
B is A is Sat and B is Asat. B is A, whereas the crux of the matter here is that B is A, whereas A is not B.
I don't know which one is B, which one is A. I mean,
B is Asat, B is the world,
B is
Asat,
the okay.
Mithya, B is
Mm.
Mithya, and A is Sat.
Okay, got it.
See, very simple. B,
Yeah, got it.
if you look
C
at
is
the
not
thing
B.
A, B, C, D, B
Mm.
follows A, right? So
Yeah,
A is what exists before B, so to
B.
say, if you
Okay,
understand it that way.
right,
So
got it. Mm.
Asat has its existence because of Sat.
Yeah, it depends
So
on it.
therefore,
That's
A
always
is, yeah,
something. Yeah, okay.
A is Sat and B is Asat.
Okay. In that matter, then it will, yeah, like Sat does not depend on B. So Asat. So it's not B. B is the A. Okay.
uh, Hariom, we read few days back. No? I was reading about they are talking about the bhava. So on page 194, there's a paragraph which tells about this sat asat related to bhava. It is that emperor's clothes. Well, that
Mhm.
paragraph. So that explains this thing very easily. If you just can just read that one paragraph, small paragraph, 194 page. Uh, just
Sorry,
before
194.
194, yeah. They're talking about this bhavana, an object, yeah, this one, an object. No, this last, an object that does not exist independent of something else. This one,
Yeah.
yeah. You can just scroll up also, like, yeah, this only
Yes,
this.
object. Yeah. An object that does not exist independent of something else cannot have the word Sat imputed to it. It can only be called Asat because Sat will be the one upon which the object depends for its bhava. If I remove the cloth, can you wear the shirt? All you will have is the emperor's clothes. There is no such thing as shirt without the material with which it is made. For the word shirt, there is no corresponding object at all. Bhava means it must independently exist. And because the cloth is the bhava, the shirt has no independent substantive status.
So this is how we can relate to that Atma and the Anatma.
Right. So the whole world, if you consider as the shirt, right? It is like the shirt. The world has no independent existence apart from Atma. If you remove the cloth, if you remove Atma from the world, there is nothing. It is like the emperor's clothes. There is no substance there. And you cannot, how do we do that? Here you're wearing the shirt. Here you cannot experience the world without this element of Sat. Sat is in Asat.
Yeah, there is no asat without sat.
Sat.
Yeah,
Correct.
and the bhava of asat is nothing but the bhava of the sat.
Sat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hariom, here the example of mirage also can be taken. Like there is a substratum on which we can see that water-like thing. So the substratum is necessary. Sat is necessary even to have
Very
that
true.
illusion.
Yeah. Just like the snake and the rope. The rope is the substratum there. Without that, you cannot imagine the snake. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. So that rope, the road, all that is the basis for that imagine that as though existence of the water in the mirage, as though existence of the snake on the rope.
Jai Gurudev. Brahmaraji, I was just thinking about the word tuchha. I'm sorry to bring it again
Huh.
back. Like when we have some negative tendencies or some emotions, apprehensions about some situation, is it we can consider them as like tuch, which has no existence, and we consider them as. So can we consider our those bhavas which have no existence, but we perceive them and we create unnecessary.
Mm.
It is again that you go into imagination and there's no level of imagination. You can assume anything about anything. So it is again non-existent. That is why it comes in that category tuchha. The views or the thinking or the perception which you are having at the time, is it is only in your mind, no? It doesn't exist anywhere. So that is why it is non-existent and tuchha. I understood like this. Yeah.
The whole world actually is because of your mind only. See, Guruji says, no, you are in the mind, not mind is in you. So, because of your mind, because of your desire, because of your kamana, everything comes back because you have desired, you will get it. That's it. Therefore, we take birth again, because of our mind. Now, in this, we are making mind clear. We are erasing our mind. So, all the impressions, what we have got from the world, we are erasing it. And then, when you erase, you become complete, the soul, complete Atma. And that is permanent. You are removing all the impermanent things. When you erase all that, which has been imprinted on your mind, you are erasing by meditation, everything, by all kriya, all other things. And you know that you are not this what you are thinking. Once all you stop all the desires, all the perceiving things, everything, then what remains is Sat. So the whole world is perception only in the mind. The whole world is in the mind. And your body has come because of the mind. Your desires, your things, that because of that you take rebirth. Therefore, you erase the desire. I want this, I want that, I want this. That is imprinted in your mind. And because of that mind, you take birth. And the whole world is just going like that. Unless you come back, erase the mind, clean the mind, then you get to moksha.
Yeah. Bela, with respect to your question, tuchya, you said apprehensions, are they tuchya because they are non-existent and we are imagining? Actually speaking, you're experiencing that pain of that apprehension, the anxiety, the worry, right? So it is in a sense you're perceiving that. So in a way, it is not tuchya, but it is actually mithya. It comes under the order of mithya because there is some you're it's not like you're not experiencing the pain, isn't it? Which is what here I've just come back here. See, we cannot, for something that cannot be totally dismissed as non-existent, tuchya, and cannot be taken independently as existence. So I'll just read this. What he said was, that which we refer to as asat has an order of reality, which is neither satya, bhava, nor tuchya. There is another type of abhava between these two, a non existence that we call asat. For instance, we cannot dismiss the sense organs and sense objects as totally non existent tuchya. Are they then sat? So, a sense organ cannot be called a sense organ unless it perceives something. Then he goes on to explain how the eyes see the
Yeah,
sense,
I
isn't
think
it?
yes, you are true. Correct.
So,
It is
your
mithya.
apprehensions, worries, all of them,
Mm,
they are mithya
true. Yeah, correct.
because we are able to perceive them. I mean, in a deeper sense, through the mind, intellect, ego complex, there is that perception of pain, of we're able to. So there is some. It is not totally non-existent, not tuchya, but mithya, and that is what we need to understand. Coming back to the 17th verse, where is that?
Just like the dream, they
Yeah,
are mithya.
it's mithya.
So the past and the future is tuchya?
No, past and
No,
future is mithya.
mithya. Okay.
The
Okay.
the
Thank you.
the just
Mithya is not
one thing I want
existent
to
at
clear
all.
here, like
Yeah.
just one thing, like about the tuchha. Then tuchha is that we read about the man's horn. That if you are imagining something, like if you are going into that fantasy world, then it will be as dictated as tuchha. Otherwise, if there is some experience and perception, then it is mithya. Right, Dr. Brahmra?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And three time, like it is past, present, and future, and three states of Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupta, right? It has no existence. That is tuchha, right?
Mm.
Okay.
You know why the term tucha is brought in here is for us to understand this word asat. It is not black or black and white like existence, non-existence. It is not, there is another order of reality in between these two, which is mithya. which is why they brought in the word tucha.
Yeah, because world exists, you see. It is not that it is not existing. It exists. But it is not permanent. World is subjected to destruction. And we are hanging on to the destruction. We have to hang to the which is permanent, that is Sat. Therefore, to explain that, he has brought non-existent at all. Means it doesn't exist at all. That tucha, there's no term in it. It is just for comparison, just to make us understand. Everything exists here. But those are not permanently existing. They are subject to destruction. So whatever you see is not permanent at all, or whatever we perceive. So we have to perceive the permanent thing, which is Satta, Sat, Chit, Ananda. That is what we have to do.
You know, earlier Swamiji had mentioned you can imagine a huge elephant going in through your ear, whereas you cannot. There's something like that. I just want to go back there for us to understand this tucha thing. Yeah, see? Without cloth, paper, or some other material, it is impossible to make a shirt, even in your imagination. You can imagine an elephant entering your ear by seeing yourself as very big. But you cannot imagine making a shirt without cloth. No object exists by itself apart from its cause. So this was to drive home the fact that any object requires a cause for its existence. I don't know how relevant this one is, but it just occurred to me. This example, you can imagine, because we're talking about imaginations, right here? Imagination versus,
Yes, Brahmaraj, yes.
no? You can imagine an elephant entering your ear by seeing yourself as very big. But you cannot imagine making a shirt without cloth, even in your dreams, even in your imagination. So there needs to be some cause. So there's imagining an elephant entering your ear by seeing yourself as very big. That could be considered as tucha, right? Like the man's horns.
Yeah, it's only imagination. It
It's
doesn't
in
exist.
imagination.
It doesn't exist.
Whereas for an object to exist by itself, like for you to think of an object, even in your dream, if you have to think of a shirt, you cannot think of a shirt without its cause, without the material.
Cloth.
Whether it's paper, cloth, wool, whatever it is, there has to be some material for it. So then coming back to your question, Bela, about whether the anxieties, apprehensions are tucha or otherwise, or mithya.
They are mithya only.
If you have karma karya, that Karna Karyavada, right? That's something like
No,
that.
that anxiety and all that is because of your desire. I want like this. And when it doesn't happen, you are excited or you are sad. You are
Yeah.
like that.
But
So there is a karana for that.
but then I'm asking a
It's
question.
not an imagination. Imagination is simply imagination, like a story. Here there is a cause because of the sensation. Matra spashasu kaunteya. Because of your sense, touching of the senses into the object. You feel Shita Ushna and Sukha Dukkha. There's a cause for that. And that cause is Asat.
But when you actually look at it, is it important for us to know exactly the difference between Tucha and Asat? Anyway, both of them are bundled up into that which is not Sat.
Not Sat.
We are pursuing Sat over here. So
Yeah.
maybe
Correct.
we
Very
don't need
true.
to really differentiate, okay, is this Tucha or is this Asat, is it Mithya, is it Tucha? No. They're all bundled up into that B. A is
Very
A.
true. Very true.
We are following A. We are unfolding A. Isn't it? And
Absolutely.
we know this apprehension and all of this is not our true nature, is not the tattva. So that understanding is there. So maybe
When we know the Sat, then those apprehension anxieties all
exactly they
not
just
not matter.
disappear. We like the water in the mirage as you're going closer
Yeah.
to it. You know there's no water. It is
Mm.
only an apparent existence there.
Yeah. Dhanyavad Brahmaraji to bring back to the center.
So today we did it's still here, right? Yeah. So how do we get to the Sat? Is we do not have to get rid of the Asat in order to get to the Sat. So we don't need to destroy the world in order to get to Sat. Nor is the Asat sitting upon the Sat, covering it up. Just as the pot does not cover the clay by sitting on it. You need not destroy the pot in order to know the clay. It is a question of understanding alone. How beautiful this is, no? It's just a
Just
question
like
of understanding.
just like to find an atma, you are you are like going inwards, no? That layers and layers of your existence, all the what do you say that
Kosha.
layers of consciousness. Yeah. So it is that way to know that atma. You go through those layers. Yeah. Question of
Another
understanding.
question, yeah.
Yeah. Continue.
Another question then arises when the entire world is pervaded by the Sat Vastu, is the Sat Vastu destroyed when the world is destroyed? No. One is Sat, which is not subject to destruction, and the other is Asat. When the Asat is destroyed, the Sat is not destroyed. There is both difference and non difference here. Non difference in the sense that all there is bhava Sat, and difference in the sense that while the Asat depends upon the Sat does not depend upon the Asat. Therefore, we say that there is both non difference and difference. Because there is no real difference, there is non duality. The crux of the matter here is that B is A, whereas A is not B. I think we'll stop here today. Anyone wants to share anything before we close?
See, B can become A. That's what we are trying to do that. B
We
is
read
A.
this also. The next we read indestructibility of the non-dual.
No, we didn't read that. We stopped
Okay.
it.
Okay.
We wanted to read this part again, so we went back. We've not read this.
Okay.
Dr. Brahma, can you send me this PDF, the one you have? The one I have is a old looking, it's not the same page number one you're referring to.
Is it? Okay, I shared whatever I have with everyone. I think no
Yeah,
problem.
this
I will
PDF
Doc-
is a little different from what I have. Yeah.
Mhm.
Dr. Brahmaraji,
Yes.
is this in a printed form, a book?
Yeah. You can
Where
get
we
this
can
from
get that?
the Arsha Vidyapeetham.
Arsha Vidyapeetham.
Arsha Vidyapeetham from Swami Dayananda's Arsha Vidyapeetham. I think it is 10 volumes.
Okay, we can buy that.
You can order that, yes.
Yeah, that would be the best way. Because going through this PDF is very strenuous to the eyes. Again, we don't know. There we can just remove the page and know it immediately. And I am used to the books.
I've got those PDF printouts. So each chapter has a printout
Yeah.
spiral binding, so it is easy to carry also. Otherwise, it becomes difficult that for hard copy and that. Na? So these printouts, they are very easily handled. I am also comfortable with books only.
Books
Yeah.
only. Good. Thank you.
We'll meet up tomorrow. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.